What's up, Internet? It's Meta, and I'm back with another installment in the Wakfu series. And this episode, well, this is going to be a series on every single one of the 10 classes that are out at the moment, and it is going to be somewhat of a class guide and a build that I've played most likely, and why I recommend it, and just a little overview of the class, a little in-depth. So today we are going to be playing Sacrier's Blood. Sacriers are the self-sacrifice type of character. They are the tanks when played Earth, and they can do massive damage when played correctly. So, reading the little bubble here, self-sacrifice is the motto of the Sacrier. These berserkers' powers increase tenfold every time they're hit. Sacriers have what's called anger, and anger at base level caps at 70, and proportional to the amount of health that you have total to the amount of health that you have left is how high your anger is. Every anger point that you have increases your damage by 0.75%. This is huge because you can top out your anger at 100. So, you're going to be doing 75% more damage than normal. You can hit some crazy numbers with this. On my level 25 Sacrier, Sac for short, I think I hit 75 in one turn. And that's not very impressive to some people, but to me it went way over my head. So, when you come to the Sacrier selection screen, the sprite for the male and the sprite for the female. I prefer the female sprite because it just looks better to me, and I always build all of my Sacriers this way because I've been doing this since open beta. And the class, it's really fun to play, and actually I need to show you exactly what I mean when I'm going to do this. So, when you first start a Sacrier, it's going to drop you off an Incarnum, like always, running out of the zap, like always. And you'll see that I have 54 health, 55 health. You randomly gain a health point, alright. Sacriers do have a lot of health, and you'll see that there are three elemental trees are fire, air, and earth. And let me go over this first because I didn't explain this in my last video. Every class has three elemental trees, and those four elemental trees are fire, air, earth, and water. Sacriers have fire, air, and earth, and every class has 10 support spells, 5 passive and 5 active, where you actually cast these 5, and these are just different buffs. There are 5 spells for each of the elemental trees. Normally, the way that each class works, there's a different way to play each tree. So, going with Fire Sacrier, it is a damage the enemy, but hurt myself for a fraction of the damage that I did. And every attack, every skill, spell, whatever you want to call it, in the Sacrier Fire class, Sacrier Fire element, whatever, does damage to yourself except for Cage of Blood. Now, Fire Sacriers, I actually play a Fire Sacrier. I'm going to show you that in just a small amount of time. Fire Sacriers play very offensively, and the way that Fire Sacriers play isn't so much of strategy as in a damage race. The more damage you can do fastest is the best way you're going to be able to do it. Some popular combinations are Blood Rush twice. Blood Rush is 3 AP. It has a view of 1 and range of 1, and it does 4 health to your opponent, and it does 1 damage to you. Now, it scales pretty much. You're doing just about 1/4 of the damage to yourself as you do to your aggressor, your aggressee, whatever. Cage of Blood is one of the best AoEs that, I mean, if you can't get to your enemy to be able to use Burning Blood, well, the Fire Sacrier has two AoEs. Cage of Blood, which attacks in basically a 9x9 square with the Sacrier, or with 3x3 square, 9 area, with the Sacrier in the middle. It does a good amount of damage. It caps at 50 with 75 as a crit. And for Burning Blood, you can use Bloodthirsty Fury. Bloodthirsty Fury, it doesn't really do much damage, but it gives you plus 10% damage extra on the next fire spell. So if you wanted to, you could use Bloodthirsty Fury and then use Cage of Blood. But Bloodthirsty Fury, you must have a target to use. So if you're not directly in front of it, then you're not going to be able to use that combination. Burning Blood, though, Burning Blood attacks in a cross, like a 3x3 and 3 cross with a Sacrier in the middle. When you use this, it gives each of your enemies Scalded, which if you've played NIOP, then you know that Scalded, if the target is Scalded and you are on fire and you have the flaming state, then on the target's next turn, it'll take damage at the beginning of its turn. It's self-explanatory. It does a good amount of damage. This scales really nicely, giving 42 levels of Scalded at level 100. So automatically, depending on your fire modifiers, you're going to be doing 43 damage to the enemy on its turn, and you're also doing 80 base and 120 crit. It does hurt you for half of what you do, though, so this spell does have a high cost. Punishment is so costly, but it can do so much damage. If your opponent is at a higher health rate than you, it has more health than you, and you use this, it will pretty much bring up its damage by 1.5 times. Wait, yeah, 1.5 times. If it will do half of the damage to you, unless it has a higher amount of HP than you. That's enough of the fire tree, because I need to move on to the other stuff. Fire tree, lots of damage, but lots of damage to yourself also. The air tree, in my opinion, is not viable to play as just straight air. The only spells, well, it's not a viable class to play. It's a class that you pick and choose your spells from for different situations. Like Rejected 2, if you know that you're not going to be able to break a lock, then you can use this and hit away your enemy. 3 AP and you still keep your MP, you can still move away. And Sacrier's Fist. This gets closer by 3 cells. This is your major gap closer. Assault you can use to switch places with an enemy or an ally, so that's helpful. Motion Sickness. You're going to use this to finish off straggling AP that you're not going to use. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's something that you can add on. It helps. And Light Speed, which again has an extremely high cost, just the same as Punishment, and this will teleport you across the map while doing damage in a weird style AoE. It's not viable to play in my opinion. Rocky Foot. With the Earth Tree, all of these you'll see give you coagulation levels. And coagulation, every time that you get a level of coagulation up to 100%, it will give you an armor with 1% of your max HP. That is so helpful. It is so helpful. You will never take any damage if you play Earth Sacrier right. I don't play Earth Sacrier, so I can't really tell you that much about it. It's not as much damage as it is tanky. It's ridiculously tanky. The Earth Sacrier has 2 AoEs, which are Lethal Slingshot, which attacks in a cross-shaped pattern, 1x1 cross, and it gives you 2 stacks of coagulation, and it also costs 4 AP. Same thing with Cage of Blood. And then Colonnades. Colonnades hits in a T shape with in front of it hits 2 in front of the Sacrier. The first line is just 1 in front of the Sacrier, and the second line is 3 in front of the Sacrier. This I've seen a lot of people use this. It does a lot of damage when used correctly. And then Smasher. I tend to use this sometimes when I really just need to not take damage. It gives you 5 levels of coagulation like that. Plus, well, I'm done with the Earth Tree for now. Plus, Sanguine Armor. And when you have maxed Sanguine Armor, for every 5 anger that you have, it's going to give you a level of coagulation. Now, if you divide 70 by 5, I'm going to do this in my head really quick. That's 14 levels of coagulation. Plus, if you used Smasher, you've got 19 levels of coagulation on yourself. That's a really good amount. And if you bring up anger all the way, then you've got 20 levels of anger plus 5, 25. 20 levels of armor, coagulation. Now, Attraction brings enemies to you. Transposition does what you think it does, but it only works on allied targets. Sacrifice. If you use this on one of your allies, well, if you have to use it on your ally. If you use this on one of your allies, every time that they take damage, you will switch spots with them and take the damage for them. If you're really tanky, it helps so much in groups. Life Transfer. When maxed, the Sacrier loses 10% of their max HP, and it gives 5% of their own max HP to the target. If you have a lot of health, this works really well. Anger Self-Explanatory brings up your anger by 30 and activates multi-arm, which when your anger goes over 35 or 70, then it gives you buffs. Blood Pact gives you more health, but at the expense of if an ally dies, you take minus 12% of your HP. That's pretty big, especially when you're in a fight and when you're low health and then one of your friends dies, you're screwed. Moribund, when this is something, if you're gonna play a fire sack, what I would recommend, max Cling to Life. So whenever Cling to Life works, is if you are at 10, let's say you're at 10 health, right, and then you end your turn after attacking with fire spells, and then your enemy brings you down to 2 health, and you use your fire spells and you kill yourself, then you'll get another turn of invincibility, and it'll keep you at 1 HP. And with Moribund, at 1 health, Moribund gives you plus 80% damage. You will also, if you have anger maxed, you'll have another 75% damage. That is so much, and then plus on top of your fire modifiers, yeah, you're going to be hitting for ridiculous amounts. And Tattooed Blood, I'm not sure if this is still glitched, but it automatically, if you have it maxed, it automatically gives you plus 2 levels increase in coagulation whenever you get it, I'm guessing. And it also gives you plus 30 lock. Let me show you some actual gameplay of my good Sacrier. That's my Sedita, not my Sacrier. I apologize. My bad. Sacrier. Now, Sacriers, they are really... Wow, my frame rate just dropped to 6. Wow, that's bad. Alright. So, I'm sorry for this dragging. I guess I'm gonna kill this. Well, okay, now it's back up. I'll kill this really quick and just describe some builds as I'm going. If you look at my build, I am Fire and Earth from my Gobble set. When the fight starts, you'll see that I have Blood Pact and I get a significant amount of health. I just went up 48 health. So, 350 health base right now. And I can walk up and use Burning Blood, and that just did 37. But it did also do 15 to me, which you have to keep that in mind. It's going to hurt you. When you're in PvP with someone that can actually do a lot of damage to you, you will not survive for very long. As you can see, I just took 4 health there, and it only went to 7, and that's because it's proportional. Some people, during the beta, it was not proportional. It was weird. It was, where you would get anger directly from the amount of health that you took, that you got taken from, that was taken from you. So people were out there with 100 anger at like 200 health. So that was before it would actually affect you. If you got it, if you got more anger, you would do more damage. I wonder, no, I'm not going to be able to hurt myself enough, but I just use motion sickness as a finisher. It takes off health really quickly, and as you can see, I have coagulation there, which means that I did not take any damage that round because I used colonnades. Dude's Cage of Blood, just to give you a little taste of that. Again, also, base damage relies on how much you use a spell. So certain ones of my spells will not have that much damage to them because I don't use all of the Sacrier spells. Anyone that plays Wakfu will know you don't use all of your spells because some of your spells aren't needed. I'm not going to be able to show you punishment this fight, but I will show you a little bit more of the Earth Tree. See, now I am under 2 levels of coagulation. I'm going to turn, and I'm going to hit this little P with this. For nothing. I didn't take any damage. And if you play Earth Sacrier right and you max Sanguine Armor because you are going to be a tank, you will take no damage. A little showing into, as you can see right now, 100 tired percentage because of the wow, I cannot talk right now, because of the health that I have lost. I put 10 points into health and 10 points into initiative. That was in my earlier levels. I didn't know completely what I was doing when I started building the sack until I realized I wanted to make it a glass cannon build. So I have 10 points into health and 10 points into initiative just so I'm not the last person going and everything. I have 50 points into intelligence. Right now I'm dumping every single one of my points into intelligence. And I have 1 point in anger just because I wanted to get multi-arm, because I'm pretty sure multi-arm doesn't activate unless you have a point in it. I have 6 points in Sanguine Armor, which I don't know how much more I'm going to put into that because all it does is waste Wakfu. Punishment uses a Wakfu, so I try not to use it too much. And then Blood Pact I have 16 in, and that will be going up to 20 shortly. So basically, lock your target, and also Sanguine Armor gives you lock. Basically, the way that this build works, you lock your target and then you nuke them. And that's how you play a Sacrier. I might have a follow-up video on this later, but at this moment, that was the overview of the Sacrier. I'll be more in depth with different builds later as I find them, and I find ones that work, and I will help you help me, I guess. Click the like button, and let me know if these videos are too long for you, because it's kind of hard to condense all this information any shorter. Okay, so thanks for watching. Bye!